You're now listening to Explore Central Presents Digital Equity at DPL, an interview with Nate Stone. Hello and welcome all. I'm Joe, part of the communications team here at Denver Public Library. Joining me in this interview today is Nate Stone, who is a technology education administrator here at Denver Public Library. Some of his work critically covers technology access and education at the library. From digital navigator programs to the technology classes and other initiatives, Nate's work aims to bridge the digital divide to better meet the needs of customers where they are at. We also talk about the Community Technology Center located on the 4th floor of the Central Library. With the full reopening of Central in November, Nate talks about his excitement and the opportunities and programs that can take place as an important hub of computer and technology access in Denver. Let's get into the interview. Can you start first by explaining what digital inclusion means and why it's so important in today's world?
Yeah. So to understand what digital inclusion means, we have to start with digital equity. So digital equity is a state where someone's race, their neighborhood, their income, their gender, their ethnicity, whatever characteristic they may have, is not predictive of their ability to access the internet, to access technology devices, or to use those effectively, right? So then digital inclusion is all the activities we need to actually reach that state of digital equity. So those involve helping people get access to affordable internet, helping people get access to devices, and then providing the tech education they need to meet their goals in life.
So it's kind of like a three-prong.
It's thing. They always talk about like the three-legged stool. Is what they talk about.
As simple as it is, but challenging as it can be to bring those things together. So when it comes to digital equity, digital inclusion, how does Denver Public Library approach the concept of that, and what kind of goals does the library have?
So the library's been doing digital inclusion work long before there was a fancy term for it, right? Because folks rely on the library as a source for information and communication. And a long time ago, libraries realized that providing access to the internet and providing access to computers was a key service to give to the community. So we provide that infrastructure for folks in the community who may not have internet and computers at home. My boss Tracy has done amazing work increasing our ability to loan out stuff so people can take it home, right? So we check out the Chromebooks for 3 months, we check out hotspots. And then, so that access bit is something that we've been doing for decades now, right? And then with the creation of the CTC back in the day, that sort of formalized that third leg, right? That bringing the education into it. Folks have been doing that for years also, right? But the CTC provided a centralized place for folks to create lessons plans and try things out and then bring them out to the rest of the system. So then we've done classes, we do drop-in tech help, there's folks doing drop-in appointments all over the system, right? And then the newest sort of iteration of the service is the Digital Navigator program, which started just post-COVID, which is very explicitly meant to meet those three needs for people at home, right? So helping connect them to your home internet, helping them find a device that they can take home and keep, and then that ongoing one-on-one support. But I also think I'd be remiss if I didn't say also that the vast majority of the tech help that happens every day is frontline staff at a service at the desk at Hamden or the desk at Hadley, right? When someone comes in and asks for help with an email or a password, we are helping hundreds and hundreds of people a day with technology questions. And that's really like where the lion's share of the work is.
Full disclosure, I used to also work at the CTC as a tech specialist in LPA teaching technology classes. So yeah, we would get definitely anything that ran the gamut. Things you wouldn't even know how to troubleshoot. Even the people who have to help have to have some sense of tech understanding, but also the ability to and willingness to troubleshoot and figure things out as well.
Yeah, a lot of what I think we all got sick of the word resilience over COVID, but a concept that I was introduced to over COVID that's really stuck with me is talking about digital resilience. And I think a lot of what we teach is so much of the time we're really just cheerleaders, right? We're like encouraging people to do something, to just poke it, see if it works. I promise it won't catch on fire. And then because the thing is, like, we can teach someone a specific way to do something today, and then it'll be updated tomorrow and be completely different, right? So what's important is that we instill like confidence and resilience with folks. So as long as you're curious enough to poke around on things, like you can learn just about anything, right? Like that's, yeah.
I like that word, digital resilience. It makes me think of maybe what the opposite would be digital burnout, or to combat digital burnout,
right.
which can be a thing.
Or digital fear or digital anxiety.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like so many, like you saw for years, right? The people come to the desk in a heightened state because they like feel like they should know it, or they should, or someone told them it'd be super easy, and it was not.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So you're not only troubleshooting the tech, but you're also learning to navigate interacting with someone interpersonally with the technology too as well. You kind of touched on it already with the CTC, but what kind of technology education programs does the library offer, and how do you ensure these programs are accessible and effective for people with different levels of tech knowledge?
Gotcha. Do you want me to keep it like central specific, or
Yeah, central specific,
or the system as a whole? Because I think there's a couple things that I'm super excited about central reopening, right? That the pandemic showed us all that the tech access is an absolute necessity, right? Like, I think every one of us who was here during that time helped someone trying to get on the Wi-Fi from a parking lot or the sidewalk or something, or a kid going to school on their phone, right? So we've really stepped up our game in terms of access, I think. And so I'm glad with central reopening that they'll have that many more computers available, because this has always been one of the busiest spots in the system for that access bit. I think the other thing that's really exciting is the reopening and restaffing of the CTC. The closure and COVID just really did a number on the CTC staff.
Yeah.
And so they're building up from scratch, and it's a super exciting crew they've got going there. And so I'm really excited to see that large classroom come back to life, to see the one-on-one appointments start again, so that they can help complement all of the work that is already being done across the system of like folks at Gonzales and U Hills, Bear Valley are all doing their own classes. Older Adult Services has worked with us to do some like tech classes with people. There's really cool work happening all over the system, but the CTC is the only place in all of DPL that's sole mission is help computer, help do computer. Yeah. And so having that back as a force that can help carry some of the load for other folks across the system, and update all the things that we built out before that are obsolete because they're like 2 years old, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about having that community back. Your audience needs to know, but we used to have the curriculum committee that would meet at the CTC.
That's right. Yeah.
And eventually we had to close it because it was me. there was no one else to talk about curriculum with, right?
Just talk to yourself.
So like having LPAs here again, who's like sole role is technology education, is going to be super exciting to see again, because it's sorely needed. We've been doing lots of community classes with different organizations like Lutheran Family Services and Conectores de Montbello, and there's so much need for that education bit, but we just haven't had bandwidth to be able to do it. So this feels like a big step to sort of getting back to our.
Along with also the Idea Lab reopening.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting too.
That's very exciting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, like, the Central Lab was always the busiest before everything closed. They're going to have a lot of work to do to compete with Sam Gary now, because that place is absolutely bananas.
Completely wrong.
It is crazy. But I'm excited to see Central always had a different clientele, a different flavor to it. So it'll be really cool to see that open, to see the studio brought back to life, because that was always in regular use down here. I think it's going to be really interesting. And from what I understand of the changes in the floor plan they're doing up there, it's going to be even more accessible than it was before. Oh yeah, you asked about accessibility. All I do in my job is try to meet the community where they're at. So that involves, we took the COVID closure as a chance to really do a deep dive into community research and talk to folks who we saw all the time in the library, folks who never go to the library, service providers in the community, about what technology needs they were seeing and how the library could help meet some of those. So we've rebuilt the technology education offerings we have around that information, and the core message was that folks need computer basics, and they're really worried about security in a way that they weren't before COVID. I think maybe just like everyone being forced online just sort of brought that to the front. So that's where we're like focusing our efforts at the beginning. But we're also accompanying that with thinking about how we make these core materials accessible to the broadest number of people. So making sure that like language access is a key part. That if we're going to have computer basics classes, we need to have computer basics classes in Spanish for sure, right? How are we, when we're approaching curriculum design and material design, are we making them as accessible as possible? So that is all like sort of a core part of how we approach the work and everything. And because we have limited resources, right? The Navigator program is an example. I have 6 full-time positions, and while I'd love to have one at all 27 branches, giving everyone 2 hours doesn't feel like a useful investment, right? Yeah. So when we make decisions on where to place ID labs or navigators, it's always based on who's in that community, who's in the surrounding communities, where is the need the highest, and where can we make the most impact. And so that's a key part of how we design all our goals.
So that, I guess, would lead into like the future plans or innovations like Denver Public Library has around this. Any upcoming projects or initiatives you're particularly excited about?
I'm most excited that the digital navigators are now permanent positions instead of temporary positions, to be honest. That's been that's
a big win.
The whole last year. So making sure that is established and like secure has been a lot of our work. So taking that into the future is really exciting for next year. I think relaunching tech classes here at Central is going to be super exciting. We're thinking through a whole new approach to how we present classes and how we can test out what's needed, because I think what everyone in this building and across the system has realized is that when we reopened in a different world, and all the things that we thought were givens aren't necessarily a given anymore. And I think especially for Central, that's been closed for so long, we're gonna have to do a lot of work to find the best way to meet people. But it'll be exciting to try it when we do.
And there'll still be free all classes, basics.
Yeah.
Computer basics.
I like to refer to it as a prepaid service as opposed to free, so that people realize
prepaid. That's fair.
realize that it's their tax dollars at work. Yes. So we're launching with the core of computer basics, so that covers parts of computer, typing, mousing, email, some basic digital privacy and security, so parts of computer, mousing, keyboarding, what the internet is, how to search for things successfully and safely, digital privacy and security, and then how to manage your email and create an email account. So on top of that, we're also going to launch with some sort of short introductions to like Google Docs and creating resumes in there, and then some quick one-hit classes on managing notifications on your phone or installing apps. And we've definitely found that we need to experiment with how we had like a machine going before the closure, right? and we're gonna have to experiment with format and presentation a bit to see what sticks now.
I think that's kind of like the challenge, but the exciting part is you kind of get to re-examine and reset and see
Yeah.
what kind of approach you can take. Because before it was just kind of like the machine was going and you were kind of adjusting on the fly.
Right.
You still will, but now you can kind of have a better idea.
Well, that's what's been super cool about all the new staff coming on. Is like, as someone who's been here for 12 years, I all too often fall into the like, well, back in my day we used to do da da da, right? And like no one wants to hear that. And while that historical knowledge is good, it can also blind you to new ways to do things, right? So having new eyes and new voices that are giving us new ways to engage with the community is super exciting. It's gonna be a wild ride. It's gonna be good.
So Denver Public Library and Central is like not the first to kind of do what it's done with technology, digital inclusion, digital equity. What advice would you give other libraries, big and small, when it comes to what you've learned?
I guess I think one of the things that I would talk with people about is sort of what we touched on earlier, was that like there's so much that you can't approach technology help like you're the Geek Squad at Best Buy, right? Just like hiring folks who know computers isn't the end all be all. It's hiring people who can people.
Definitely.
I shouldn't have been shocked by it, but when we started the Navigator program, the thing that took me the longest to get used to was that so much of what the navigators do is social work, right? Like it's connecting people with resources, helping them like look for benefits, because that Venn diagram of folks who are impacted by the digital divide and the people who are impacted by every other social inequity it's a circle, right? Right? Like it's the same people. So when I help someone with a computer or with a phone, I'm also going to be helping them with navigating the rent shortfall or trying to figure out how to contact their cousins in Venezuela, right? Like everything gets pulled into the digital realm. So thinking about your approach as a relationship first, rather than like that we are helpers and guides. We are not teachers, because the subject changes too fast. And with technology, if we knew everything, we could get paid a lot more somewhere else. so it's better to be a generalist and a curious and kind person, because I think people want to hire that dude who can install Linux on your broken laptop, and that guy is useful and has his place, but isn't who I want like helping people at the desk downstairs at Central. And then I think the shift that we're looking at a lot right now is how to. The other big overlap is informational literacy, right? So libraries have always played a big place in helping people interpret the world and connecting them to reputable sources. And as the number of sources has increased exponentially by the internet, that job has become more and more crucial, right? So our reference department does just rad work around that. We've been thinking a lot about how we can integrate that into all of our technology education offerings, because it's a more and more crucial skill. As like I was doing an interview a while ago, and the dude, we figured out halfway through that the dude was he was feeding the questions into ChatGPT and then reading the answers back to us, right? Like,
it was only a matter of time, right?
Yeah. but it's everywhere, and everyone is using all this stuff, and all these technologies are being put out in the wild without a lot of context for the average user. So how do we step up to that role in helping people navigate this brave new stupid world of AI and all that stuff? Yeah.
It's really interesting when you were talking about interactions and kind of the hard skills. You're very much using soft skills as equally, if not more.
Way more, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because you're not. Because it's not. One of the reasons I love that I've stayed here so long is that the folks who are brought to public library work are folks who care deeply about their community and want to help them. And that's the thing that drives stuff, right? Like it's not, it's good to research whatever technical thing or have whatever technical skill, but so much of getting information across to someone is building a relationship, is being able to build enough trust with that person that they'll take a breath and then engage with you. And like that's what our staff is super good at. I'm glad to see we'll be able to scale up when we like reopen Central, rehabs and new branches, right? Like we are exponentially increasing our ability to do that. It's as I tell people all the time, like it's our jobs, whether we're helping people with technology or whether we're helping them with like a reference question or whatever, the person who comes up to the reference desk asking about, I need information about the War of 1812, like your expectation isn't that you will know all this stuff about 1812 and be able to give it to them immediately, right? You know where to point them to. It's the same with technology, right? Our role is to be kind and trusted guides and welcome everyone in who has questions.
That wraps up my conversation with Nate about digital equity and inclusion at Denver Public Library. And to learn more about the Community Technology Center, visit denverlibrary.org/CTC. Join us as we celebrate the reopening of Denver's literary and cultural landmark. After years of anticipation, the Denver Public Library's Central Library is fully reopening its doors to the public in November 2024. To explore Central and learn more about what we have going on at Central, including interviews like this, visit denlib.org/explore-CEN. A big thank you to Nate for sitting down with me for this interview. Definitely learned a lot, and I hope you did too. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.